Okay, I'm going to start our September Ordinary Council meeting 2022. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land, the Wadandi people of the Noongar Nation, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. And welcome to everybody who's in our public gallery. Just to remind you that please turn your mobile phones off, and public members to extend courtesy and respect in the chamber, and in doing so please refrain from talking in the gallery during proceedings. No interruptions or use of language that is defamatory or offensive, and today we are actually live streaming. So just to let you know that this meeting is being live streamed and digitally recorded in accordance with council policy. Members of the public are reminded that no other visual or audio recording of this meeting by any other means is allowed without the permission of the chairperson. Whilst every endeavour has been made to only record those who are actively participating in the meeting, loud comments or noises from the gallery may be picked up on the recording. Moving along, we are at 2.1, apologies. I believe we have an apology for today.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, we have an apology from Councillor Newman, who's taken unwell with a certain virus that happens to be going around the community.
Thank you. Moving on to 2.2, approved leave of absence. We have Councillor Massey for this ordinary council meeting, who's away out of the country at the moment. Moving on to 2.3, application for leave of absence. Do we have any councillors who wish to put in a leave of absence for next council meeting or any other future council meetings at this stage? No? Okay, moving on to item 3. Item 3, you'll see in the agenda that there's a number of different activities that I've done throughout the month. Also like to mention that tomorrow evening at the Donnybrook Hotel, there will be a budget presentation. So is anyone here is interested in attending the Donnybrook Hotel? The Donnybrook Bailing Up Chamber of Commerce is hosting that, and that commences at 5:30 p.m. I also like to mention about the colour exhibition, which is on at the moment. The opening night was last Friday, and it's very, very good. It's very worth going and having a look. And as you know, it's on the main street where Artisans' shop is. Just reading a report, the Office of Auditor General has released their local government financial audit results for 2020-21 audit cycle. Just noting in that report a few things. They have completed 132 audits as at the 30th of June 2022. There are 16 audits still in progress. We are not one of them. And Shire of Donnybrook Bailing Up has been listed as having a clear audit opinion and was submitted on time. There was a couple of comments by the Office of Auditor General who actually commented about local governments have a lot or far more regulatory requirements than state government entities, and they recognise that this contributes to a lot of time and costs to prepare financial reports, as well as auditing them as well. So in that, they are actually encouraging like a tiered reporting. So the Department of Local Government's Sports and Cultural Industries are actually introducing a tiered reporting for Band 3 and 4 local governments based on the model financial statement template. If you may recall that our Shire had an adverse trend in ratios, and there's been a lot of discussion about ratios in the past. Now, in this report of all the audit's results, 109 entities, that's 109 local governments, reported adverse trends in their ratios. Now, this has actually been recognised, and one of the first components of regulatory changes will include, they will actually remove the removal of ratios in the annual financial reports and removal of an auditor's opinion on the financial ratios, significant adverse trends and matters of non-compliance. And this will take effect from the 22-23 financial year. It's quite an interesting report if anyone's interested in actually reading the audit results from all the local governments. Where's my list? On another note, we have many individuals and families that are suffering at the moment. We have lost many valued community members. We're burying another young road accident victim next week. We have many community members who are battling insidious diseases, illnesses. There are a lot of work pressures in all industries, from staff shortages and cost escalations and life in general. We are all feeling the impacts of post-pandemic. There are some things we can control, but of course there are some things we can't control. Now, in light of this, my next message is extremely important. It doesn't matter where you work, live or play. It doesn't matter if you are in government, the private sector or unemployed. It doesn't matter if you are King of England, homeless, or your mother-in-law. All these people deserve respect. It has come to my attention that offensive, defamatory and untruthful messages have been communicated on social media in relation to Shire staff. We live in a small community that is made up of a diverse group of people who all deserve respect. So before you hit send or post an email, text message or any social media platform, please consider the reader. It could be a mother, a father, a child or a grandparent. What role model are you setting in our community for our younger generation? Would you like to be on the receiving end of that message? Would your grandmother approve? Remember, we are all human, valuing a healthy and safe community. Let's keep it that way. That concludes my announcements for the presiding member. Now, what I generally do is I ask some councillors if they've done any activities throughout the last month and if there's any good news to do with events, things in the community that they wish to share.
If I may, Madam President, on behalf of the Shire, I was asked to attend an event at Boyup Brook for the Sanderkin Memorial. I attended that on the 13th of September, and it was an incredibly moving event. I was really pleased to be able to go to that. And like you, I also went to the colour, I can't remember the name of it. Exhibition, sorry, yesterday. And yes, what an amazing array of work the local people in Donnybrook have done, and also the work that people have put into having that event available for us to view. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glover. Is there any other councillors that wish to share anything that they've sort of been involved with? Yes, Councillor Atherton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I attended the Sandwich Football League Netball B grade grand final to watch Councillor Glover's daughter and her teammates play in the grand final. Sadly, we came second, but it was a great effort nonetheless. And the following day, saw you at the preliminary final for the women's football, and we came second again, but it was good to be part of it, and thanks for coming along.
Thank you. Thanks very much, councillors. That's great. Now we're going to move along to item 4, which is our declaration of interests. Now we do have a number here. I'll pass you over to the CEO to
Thank you,
explain
Madam
those.
President, very much. We have 3 declarations this evening. 2 are from Councillor Smith, and they are both financial interests. One in relation to item 9.2.4 and one in relation to item 9.2.5. And the reason for the interest is Councillor Atherton's business does work for the owners of number 118 Walter Road, Wilga West. That's a mouthful. There is also another declaration of financial interest, this time from Councillor Atherton, and that's in relation to item 9.3.1. And the reason is that Councillor Atherton has a reasonable expectation of acting as a land sales agent in the foreseeable future for a nearby development at Kelly Road. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Oh, sorry.
The CEO just made a mistake with the, should have been Councillor Smith, not Councillor. Yeah, it was my business. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you for the correction, Councillor Gubler.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 5. We have some responses to previous public questions taken on notice. They are listed in your agenda. Item 5.2, public question time. Do we have any questions from our gallery today? Any questions? Yes, please come up and state your name and address.
Simon McInnes, Hardy Place, Donnybrook. I've been asked to ask these questions on behalf of the Donnybrook and Bailing Up Ratepayers and Residents Association because who was going to do it is unwell at the moment. So I will do that. There are 5 questions. Do you want me to sit down or how are we going to work it?
Yeah, just two at a time. Yeah, 2 at a time.
Okay. The question 1. Does the CEO have the contact details of all the individuals who downloaded the expressions of interest as required by policy FINCP for purchasing?
Thank you. Just recapping, does the CEO have all the contact details who submitted an EOI?
Of all the individuals who downloaded the expressions of interest as required by the policy FINCP for purchasing? As
required by, yeah. I'll pass you over to the CEO.
Thank you, Madam. I'll take the question on notice, Madam President.
On notice? Okay. The CEO reported to the Council that there were no tenders received for tender number DBSC 1020927A. 27. A Deborah member attended the tender opening and there was clearly a tender received. This tender may have been non-compliance and should have been recorded as such. How has this been recorded and is it available for public view?
So you're asking is how it's been recorded for...
And is it available for public view?
And is it available for public view? Do you have...
Thank you, Madam President. I'll take the question on notice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's 2, Sean.
Yep. Are there any other questions? Any people in the public gallery would like to ask a question? No, is that Mr. Atherton? Did you put your hand up then or no? No? Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, Mr. McInnes, you can come, step right up.
Carrying on the Deborah questions. The CEO reported to Council that an expressions of interest from Smith's Constructions was accidentally put into the wrong tender box. However, it was subsequently added to the expressions of interest box. Could you please clarify what date the tender was received and also clarify the time the expressions of interest was received? Expression of interest was received.
Okay, I'll pass that over to the CEO.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. McInnes. I don't have the dates and the times right in front of me, so I'll need to take that on notice. Thank you.
The CEO reported to councillors in the quarterly information report that the expressions of interest would be conducted in accordance with the Local Government Act Functions and General Regulations 1996. However, the CEO has indicated that this expressions of interest is not an expression of interest under the Local Government Act, Functions and General Regulation 1996. If the expressions of interest is not an expressions of interest, is it bound by the Donnybrook Shire Council purchasing FINCP for purchasing?
Yeah, I'll pass it over to the CEO.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll take the question on notice. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
McGuinness.
The CEO keeps referring to the VC Mitchell Park project team. In the tender documentation, it states that all project consultants had been released from contract. However, Deborah contacted MGM Architects for some information relating to the drawing package within the tender documentation. MGM Architects indicated that they could not provide Deborah with any information as they were still under contract with the Donnybrook Baling Up Shire. Could the CEO please list all current members and their role on this project team?
Thank you for your question. I'll pass it over.
Thank you, Madam President. Thanks, Mr. McGuinness. I'll need to take that one on notice. There's quite a few consultants involved in the project.
Okay, now I've got my questions. Do you want me to...
I'll just check. Is there anyone that has any other questions before Mr. McGuinness continues? No? Okay, yes.
Okay. Could you please explain in detail the processes and procedures that the Shire has in place with regards to the consultation and due diligence regarding the Perkins Builders and the $10 million Sporting Hub build? How will it work, and how will the Shire and Perkins avoid a conflict of interest? What checks and balances are in place, and will the minutes of all the meetings between the Shire and Perkins be available on the website?
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. McGuinness. A big question.
Yeah,
with
huge
quite,
question.
yeah, with quite a lot in. I'll need to take that on notice and provide a bit more, give me a bit more time to consider that before I provide some advice.
Okay. Can the President explain in detail why the condition of the roads is being kept secret from the ratepayers, as the network is vital to the economy of the Shire and the largest item in the budget?
Why is the condition of roads kept secret?
Remember my question last meeting was about the condition of the roads and why it was being kept secret?
Yes, yes.
And the answer was
there was a
doing
response.
a survey in a year's time, and we'll let you know whether we're going to keep it secret or not. But why is it being kept secret now? It is the biggest item in the budget.
I'll have to take that on notice. I'm not actually sure. I know that they're doing a review, I believe, at the moment. So
Yeah, but it's a secret review, or it's a secret, the outcome. Well, at the moment it is anyway.
all right, I'll take that on notice and I'll see if I can give you an answer.
Okay, two more. When will the results of the internal audit be published, and will it be available to the public?
The internal audit, I'll pass that over to the CEO.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. McGuinness. That'll be a matter for the Audit and Risk Management Committee to provide some recommendations to the Council on. So I can't tell you when the results will be made available.
Okay. And the reduction of capital works, there's a question I did last meeting, is $225,821. This is a very specific amount. Where will these cuts to the maintenance be made on top of the $500,000 that already hasn't been spent and is from last year?
Thank you for your question. That might be a, we'll take that on notice as well. Thank you.
Okay. That'll do.
Thank you for your questions. Moving on to item 6, petitions. We don't have any petitions at the moment and don't have any presentations. However, we do have a deputation. So I'll call upon these ladies to commence. Thank you. And just a reminder that there's 10 minutes.
Yes. Do we have the... Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name's Judith Morrissey. I'm here to talk about the Donnybrook Town Team. Some members of the council may remember that about 2 years ago, 2020, a colleague of mine and I, Claire Connolly, did a presentation on a project called Artbeat. In part, this presentation is an update on that and an indication of how we're moving forward. Next slide. Oh, okay. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that slide quite so soon. With the Donnybrook Town team, and what we're here today to do is just provide some information to seek your general support as we move forward with our moves, with our plans, and to overall get people involved in what the Donnybrook Town team is planning to do. Can I have the next slide? This is what I'm looking for. The Donnybrook Town team, we kind of started last year in October, November. The town team movement is a local West Australian movement that aims to support community engagement or to support community engagement around local areas. They work through any local groups who are willing to join the town team movement. On the left-hand side, what you see there is what a town team actually is. We intend to be a very focused, action-focused, positive, proactive. We really don't want people complaining. We want to be inclusive and open to all, creative, innovative, a lot of fun. It is also our intention to be by the community, from the community, for the community. And if you have been reading your Preston Press, you will have seen some mention of the Donnybrook Dunny Do-Over, which is one of our themes there. The engagement, the Donnybrook Town Team's engagement is part of a larger picture because we are part of the statewide and actually also Australia-wide. There are some town teams over east. And our major plan at the moment is to hold a community event on the 25th of February 2023. And we use the word activation, and I suppose people who are not familiar with it will wonder what it is. It really is just about getting the people of the local community actively engaged in doing something around their community with their community. Can I have the next slide? So what we're looking for today, and which we'll be doing over the next few months as well, is to seek support of the Donnybrook Shire as a council, or as individual community members, to just be aware of our plans, to be informed, to be supportive of our plans, to be positive. If we have criticisms to make, please make them in a respectful manner. And to actively participate as individuals. We really, really do want people to come in from the ground up and actually provide input into how we do things with the events and art installations that we're planning. In the February event, we are planning to have what is called a box city, where we get piles of cardboard boxes, hopefully donated, give the kids safe scissors, lots of duct tape and pens, and they actually begin to create their own city environment in the town square. So they begin to understand at a very young age that their physical environment in their local area is part of their ability to actually influence. We are also planning on an all-ages treasure hunt. And we do mean all ages. We're planning on having, lots of people going around the town looking for things that we will have hidden in one way or another. We also want to do a Donnybrook Dunny race, kind of in connection with the Dunny Do-Over. Apparently the Apple Festival used to do Dunny races, so we're kind of going back to the past to come to the future. We are also planning on doing laneway activations. May I ask really quickly, how many do the councillors know how many laneways there actually are in the main street? 16 laneways. So we did a recent walk around the laneways and we're trying to identify those laneways that we could actually do something with to encourage the community to use both the Clifford Street parking and therefore walk through, but also to actually make them lively places and places people actually use. So we're planning to do some temporary soft activations, like for instance, a temporary garden in maybe one or two of the laneways. What we'll also be doing at this February event is getting ideas, the community engagement about permanent activation. Because what we do want to do is to actually artify, if I can use that word, the laneway so that they actually become a point of interest and a point of pride from our community because they will be making the stuff to go in there. We're also hoping that these laneways become a tourist attraction, so we actually continue to attract people into our town. And obviously the February event is also going to have food and music, local food and hopefully local music. Next slide. So there's the 16 laneways between the police station and the dentists. One of the points of difference that we want to do with these activations around Donnybrook is to actually have an engagement and activity within the artwork. So for instance, in the garden, maybe we get a bike that's attached to a pump, and when people actually ride the bike, the garden gets watered. Maybe we can have rolling cars along some kind of, if you think of an abacus, but a kind of twisty, wavy abacus, and have items on that can be run from one end to the other, keep the kids occupied. And obviously have Insta opportunities, you know, choose your apple or an avocado. I did suggest at one stage maybe we could have a photo of a cutout of a worm coming out of an apple, but I was told by a local fruit grower they probably wouldn't like that. Next picture, please. These are some ideas for the laneways that have been picked up by Chandel, whom I forgot to introduce. Our editor of the Preston Press, Chandel Mullen, is also on our Donnybrook town team. Hanging umbrellas across the between laneways, having murals which actually provide photo opportunities, you know, standing, sitting on the seat, and the third one is also an umbrellas thing. And if you, we'll probably try and get, rather than actually try and run the presentation, but if you actually have a moment to go on to ABC, the first ABC Gardening Australia, the first episode of this year, there was an activation of a garden, of a laneway there, where the houses actually backed onto this laneway. It had become a rubbish heap. A couple of the householders started to turn it into a bit of a garden, asking for plants and stuff, and it is now a very vibrant part of that community's life. And they started it during the COVID lockdown, so you know it has actually provided a real point of focus for that specific community. So what we are intending for the February event to do is to bring people into the town on a Saturday to showcase a Donnybrook shopping precinct, to energise the community around the laneways, and to get the townspeople involved in their town. Yes. One of the things that we need to add in, obviously the laneway activation, whether it's soft, temporary or permanent, is something that needs to be done in consultation with the business owners, but also the owners of the property, because a lot of the businesses are leased. Not all the laneways will lend themselves to some sort of activation, and so there's going to be need to be a lot of cooperation. So what we, as the Donnybrook town team, are trying to do at the moment is meet with people to put the idea out there, plant the seed, so to speak. We presented to the Chamber of Commerce last week, we presented to Council this week, and really just to start the ball rolling and get the creativity and the positivity flowing. And I think the Donnybrook do-over so far has been an example of the way that we would like to go on. The idea of doing up the Dunny has been floating around Donnybrook for many years. Apparently, I've been told it was even before I came here. I thought I invented it, but never mind. But what we then did was go out to the community and ask what they loved about living in Donnybrook and use that as the basis for the image. And then eventually they will get to paint the image when we get permission to put it on the board. So this is an example of the way that we intend to actually engage our community, to actually have them as an integral part of the thing, the event, the artwork, whatever, so that they feel that this is their, they own it. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you. And I think that's under 10 minutes. Unless you want to say something else.
No, just if there was any questions or feedback from council. Yes, councillors, would you have any questions to ask the ladies?
Just one. When's the Apple Festival being held? Easter, April. So would you be working with the Apple Festival to complement each other?
Oh, absolutely. We haven't got beyond the February plans at this stage, but as an ongoing community-based, I don't want to say project because it's more than a project, but definitely.
I can see in future years that the laneways would actually become a selling point for attracting people to the Apple Festival, particularly as the festival's coming down the street. It would be a great addition to their promotion.
Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Glover.
I always find this hard to be here and there. But have you had much support from the business owners and the owners of the buildings? Are they welcoming your ideas or this project?
We haven't directly contacted some of the owners we have directly contacted and are very supportive. The other owners we have yet to contact. We probably won't contact them all initially. We'll probably just head for those one or two that we're going to look at for the activation event. So, for instance, the post office people, owners are very happy to have something in their side laneway. But yes, we will be contacting the owners. We have to, because we have to have their agreement to go ahead with that, and we want to actually get them as passionate about getting the laneways done up as we are.
Just my feedback, I think it's a wonderful idea, and I have been to other areas where there has been a lot of this type of project as well, and it is very welcoming. It's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got one question. Are there any other questions from councillors before I ask a question? Do you have any activities coming up that, to get you inspired? How are you getting the ideas for the laneway activations? You're looking at...
The town team
Other
itself
areas.
is a little energiser bunny with ideas. Believe me, when we have our meetings, the ideas keep flowing out. As well as that, when we did the original question, what do you love about living in Donnybrook, quite a number of ideas came out of that, and we've added that to our list. And the February event will be one of the foci of the community engagement of that, is to actually ask people what would they like to see, how would they like to participate. I mean, a recent conversation led to the thought that we may actually have one of the judges from the colour exhibition actually run a welding workshop. It's a she, and she welds art. So we're actually thinking of having an art somehow, coming up with whatever the art piece looks like, and then actually having the community come along and do the welding. So those kinds of things we will actually converse with this is what I think of engagement, is actually having conversations with the community about what it is that they want. Now, it's individuals we have conversations with, but then we actually bring those conversations together to actually get something that most people will agree with.
And additional to that, we're trying to set up with things help a visit to Perth, where we do basically a road trip to see what some other communities have done within the town movement and borrow ideas. We're not too proud to borrow ideas and adapt them to our community as well.
Mind you, I think we've got so many ideas.
All right, thank you. Thanks very much. Any other questions before... sorry, Councillor Jones has got one question.
Fantastic idea, fully support it. My only concern is doing up some of the laneways, there is vehicle traffic that goes through there.
Yes.
And that concerns me if there's obstacles in the way.
We will be taking the size of the laneway, the known traffic. There is one laneway that's a known road reserve, so we will be doing our risk management assessment on what we can actually do in those laneways well before we actually, flesh out ideas for permanent engagement.
Oh, Councillor Mills, you have a question?
No, I haven't got a question. I guess it's a great initiative, and I just wish you all the best. I think when groups get together to do something for their community, you always struggle a bit for community support, because people like to see someone else doing the work.
Well,
So
yeah.
best wishes to you, and
Thank you.
I think it's good. You should get support, because it's great for the town.
Yeah, I think we will.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have the en-bloc considerations. This month we only have one item on block, which is 7.1, which is the confirmation of minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting 24th of August 2022. Would someone move a motion? Councillor Jones moved, seconded Councillor Smith. Anyone against? No. I declare that carried. Now we're moving on to item 9.1.1, Warren Blackwood Alliance of Councils, Climate Change Policy Statement and Action Plan. Now, we have a number of recommendations here, various points. One of them, point 6, is to do with nominating 2 councillors to represent the Shire. Now, before I do that, I'll move the motion that we put this. Someone move this motion. Councillor Jones moved, seconded. Councillor Smith. Councillor Jones, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, Madam President, I commend this report. It provides a platform to ensure council participates in programs relating to climate change. While there may be some anti-supporters of climate change, I believe that the overwhelming professional view is that of the worldwide scientists. I acknowledge the work to date of the Warren Blackwood Alliance of Councils, and in particular Councillor Glover and Massey representing council. The hard work's been done, and now we're in implementation stages. There are some 6 to 8 strategies within the document of approximately 40 recommendations that I believe council could implement almost immediately without expense to council or the ratepayers. Others will require some long-term planning and additional expenses which will come through the next year's budget and long-term financial plan. So hence I commend this report as is.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Smith, do you wish to speak to the motion as the seconder? Okay, we might suspend standing orders to... Oh, Councillor Atherton, sorry. Do you wish to ask your questions before we nominate?
If I may?
Yes, of
to
course.
see if we agree to go to a nomination
Of course.
stage. Thank you. I have 4 questions. My first question is, what is wrong with the climate in the Shire of Donnybrook-Barlingup?
Thank you for your question. I might pass that over to the CEO. I think he has an answer for you.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm not sure if I have an answer. I have a response. and I want to say, Councillor Atherton, thank you for the ability to research the questions by providing them earlier. So your question is, what is wrong with the climate in the Shire of Donnybrook-Barlingup? My response to you is there's nothing wrong with the climate per se in the Shire of Donnybrook-Barlingup. The challenge identified through this project has been that the climate is changing, and it's changing faster than humans can adapt their measures, approaches to that change. So it's not the climate per se, but it's the change in the climate which is the challenge.
So you're saying that at the moment there's no problem with the climate in our region?
Madam President?
Yes, please do.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councillor Atherton. I'm loath to become part of the debate on this matter, as I'm not allowed to. However, I can respond to your questions. No, I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong, as per your question, with the climate at the moment. As I've mentioned, it's the change in the climate which is creating challenges for humans.
The predicted change?
No, the previous change and the predicted change, yes.
So what was the previous change?
Thank you, Councillor Aston. I'm glad you asked that question. The Shire's Environmental Officer has provided some research for me. Between the years 1910 and 2013, the average annual temperature across the southwest increased by 1.1 degrees Celsius, and similar increases in average daily minima and maxima. Seasonal average temperatures are generally warmer, except for some areas on the south coast, which is not within the southwest. Frost risk has increased, rainfall has declined over the last 60 years, and I've got various government agency data to support this, with a whole lot of graphs that I'm happy to share with you if you like. Surface water monitoring carried out by the Water Corp has revealed a trend over the last 10 years for stream flow to increase in the Kimberley, which is not our region, but to decrease in the southwest. Also, groundwater monitoring carried out by Water Corp reveals aquifer levels are stable or decreasing through the southwest. Between 1973 and 2010, the annualised fire weather danger defined by the Bureau of Meteorology has showed a statistically significant increase at Perth, Kalgoorlie and Broome. So the weather has changed, the climate has changed, the weather has changed. As I mentioned before, I'm not sure that there's an issue at the moment. However, it's the nature of the change which makes the adaptation challenges more real for humans.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. The climate always changes, so we agree on that. Number 2 is in the glossary of the Warren-Blackwood Alliance of Councils action plan, climate, the word climate is defined as the composite of surface weather conditions such as temperature, rainfall, atmospheric pressure, humidity, sunshine and winds averaged over a period of time ranging from months to thousands of years. On page 2 of the WBAC policy statement, this line can be found. Warren Blackwood Alliance of Councils acknowledge the science is clear, said no scientist ever. However, climate change is occurring and greenhouse emissions from human activities are the dominant cause. So if climate is defined as the weather conditions and Warren Blackwood Alliance of Councils claim that humans are changing it, is it so that humans can change the weather?
Thank you for your question. Do you have an answer or a response to that?
I have a response, yeah, absolutely. For sure, humans can control the weather. They can. For instance, I presume you drove here in a car this afternoon. This morning I did, yeah. Within the car is air conditioning. Air conditioning controls the temperature, atmospheric pressure, humidity and wind. They're all elements of weather. So you control the weather. Yeah, that's right. A natural environment within the Shire. Another example might be a bushfire. You look at maybe a deliberately lit bushfire in a state forest or national park. If you see large bushfire events, you will see wind changes, humidity changes, atmospheric pressure changes, temperature changes. So yeah, sure.
So humans activated
disasters. Yeah, can change.
Bomb.
Yep.
Bomb going off.
Yep.
The same thing.
Correct.
What about day-to-day life?
In day-to-day life, there's more than that. Yeah, so do I. I thought you might head in this direction. So your question is, if climate is the weather conditions and humans are changing it, can humans control the weather? Without being facetious about bushfires and air conditioners and bombs. No, obviously humans and other animal species can't control the weather on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, or maybe even a year-to-year basis. However, impacts and outputs from humanity obviously impact a lot of other elements which impact on climate, and climate impacts the weather. So in a roundabout fashion, yes, they do. Obviously not on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis though.
Okay, thank you. Well, of course, if we got rid of the humans, then everything would be okay. Not a suggestion that I'm hoping we take up. However, the science, if true, and we don't think it's true, we agree on that. So number 4 is it is proposed to reduce the ratio of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What impact will this have to the natural and developed environments within the Shire? Thanks.
Thank you. I'll pass that over to.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Atherton again. Again, this is a very broad question. I can only give a very broad response. The Shire of Donnybrook, Balingup, other local governments involved in the Warren Blackwood Alliance of Councils can only act locally. We can't have massive global impacts and change. We can all do our bit though. Across the globe, if the ratio of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is reduced, the change in climate, the escalation of change in the climate will be reduced. And I think that's what we're aiming for.
Is it right that plants and vegetation require CO2 to thrive?
I'm not a botanist or an environmental climactic scientist, so that's a little bit out of my range there, Councillor Atherton.
Okay, thank you for your questions. Councillor Mills, you had your light on. Did you have a question?
No, I was about to ask for a point of order, because I thought the questioning, while I don't have a problem with the sentiments, it was bordering on debate between the CEO and Councillor Atherton.
Okay.
And I think we need to have that
Thank you.
as a group.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, do we go off? Suspend standing orders. Does someone like to move meeting procedures, point 10.3, is it? 10.6.
I'll move that we suspend standing orders.
Councillor Mills has moved that motion. Councillor Glover has seconded. Thank you. Is there anyone against suspending meeting procedures? No? I'll put that carried. Okay, I'm going to call for nominations for the position. Do we have any hands up for this position, Councillor
I'd
Mills?
nominate the two that are representing us at the moment,
Thank you, Councillor Mills.
Councillor Massey and Councillor Glover.
Councillor Glover. Yes, sorry, yep, we did.
I did have my hand up as nominating, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll just refer to the CEO. Are we allowed to nominate Councillor Massey even though she's not here?
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, that's okay. Councillor Massey may maybe not accept that, which we can deal with at a later stage. This is not a council committee, so it's not a formal committee per se, so it's a little bit, the process is a little bit more informal.
Just for clarification, she did indicate to me before she went that she would be happy to be part of it.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Councillor Mills? Okay, I'll go back to meeting procedures. Would someone move a motion that we enter back into debate? Councillor Jones moved, seconded Councillor Goobler.
Question, should we have second Councillor Mills' motion and vote on it?
No, we go back into meeting procedures and vote on it in meeting procedures, not while we've suspended those meeting procedures.
Okay, and was there any other nominations?
No other nominations? No, there wasn't. Thank you. Okay, so we've got a mover and seconded. Is there anyone against resuming meeting procedures? No, that's carried. Okay, so we're back into meeting mode or meeting procedures. We have a mover and a seconded. They've spoken. Now I'm going to ask, is there any other questions before I ask for someone against this motion? No other questions? Okay, is anyone against this motion that wishes to speak? Councillor Atherton?
I'll go first, shall I? Thank you, Madam President, and I speak against this motion. And there's no end to the questions that I could be asking, which further emphasise the points that need to be made. And has there ever been a time in millennium where the climate has not changed? And what is the exact temperature the globe should be? And why was the weather good today? Well, who knows? When it comes to the belief that humans have created climate change, well, climate change is simply a phrase that they came up with. And sadly, and I empathise with people who have an environmental passion, sadly, political parasites have invaded their world to feather their own nests. And I refuse to be lectured about climate change by people who I believe are professional gaslighters, politicians and their acolytes who have figured out a way to control people. And they control the air, they control their water, control consumption, control their energy. And if you just say it's linked to climate and humans have everything to do with it, then it's Bali's. Move on.
Okay, just watch your language, please.
Yeah, what words?
There was one previously that you,
Which one was it?
political clarity.
Oh, Paris. Yeah, I'll use that. Thank you. So they go ahead, they sign legislation, they join these international agreements, and they're going to take power away from the people and drive up energy prices to the point that our most vulnerable, the elderly and the poor, suffer incredibly. And I can't understand this insatiable crusade to impoverish our own people. So many scares, because fear and lies has worked countless times in the past. Why would they choose any other tactic? And the classless tactic of scaring children. Around 8 years ago, my daughter Ella came home in tears after her class at Donnybrook District High School watched a movie called An Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore, and she was traumatised and assumed the world was doomed and about to end. Unsurprisingly, it's 15 years ago or more that movie came out. We're all here. I survived 5 end of worlds myself in 52 years. But the stories never eventuated. But my daughter was exposed to this trash science and responded as they hoped she might. By the way, the polar bear population has exploded despite claims of their imminent extinction. Why is that? Sir David Attenborough and Barack Obama lectured us about the Great Barrier Reef, claiming it will soon be a coral graveyard. There's more coral cover today on the reef than the whole time they have been actively measuring it. And why is that? Claims it would never snow again in Australia, dams would be empty because average rainfall was a thing of the past, are recent examples made by climate people. Thankfully, Mother Nature has trolled these people and exposed their fairy tales. We cannot stop the climate of the earth from changing. Be very wary of anyone who insists otherwise, and never, under any circumstances, give them any of your money. These are people who boast about our own local governments divesting from fossil fuels by making a commitment to shift money out of banks that fund fossil fuels. That's political activism. I have many friends in Collie and they're devastated. They feel completely betrayed. They dance on the graves of the coal industry. Coal that powers this building and every other established property in this shire right now. These are the people who have killed the local timber industry with glee, ruining so many lives with no science to back it up. It's just pure ideology. I hope future generations, when they look back on this time in our society, wonder how it was that so many people lost their mind over an issue they had no control over. For the records, humans cannot control the weather. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Atherton. Is there anyone for this motion that wishes to speak? Councillor Jones.
As I said earlier, I agree there are some that don't believe in climate change, and that's their prerogative. And as Councillor Atherton has outlined, that's his prerogative, and I accept that. But
Point of order?
Yes.
I said that the climate changes and always will. I believe in climate change because it's obvious that it always has happened.
Okay, Councillor Jones, you actually opened the motion, so you were closing the debate. Is that?
No, I don't. No, I'd rather stay open. Somebody else can speak.
So someone else needs to speak, otherwise you can be
Sorry,
closing.
sorry.
So just remember you've already spoken. Sorry about Councillor Glover.
I'm speaking for
Yes.
this recommendation, and I guess I understand that where we're coming from in a lot of this is how does it affect our particular shire. But what I wanted to kind of make a point about is that we are not in isolation, and it's more about the as we learn more about climate and ecosystems, it's more obvious that there's an interconnectedness across the planet. And what happens over the other side of the country or world, it does affect us here. We're fortunate enough to live in this beautiful part of the world where we've got clean air and water, and some would say it's good here. Why would we contribute to improving our environment? But whilst it's not starkly obvious, as in some places, the fact is we are seeing adverse changes locally, particularly within our forests, groundwater and steam flows. And acknowledging this and working towards resilience as well as remediation on a local scale is our responsibility. Acknowledging that it would be also somewhat foolish to disregard what our neighbours and on our national and global scale. What we do in this space by acknowledging anthropogenic climate change is our contribution towards others, particularly our children and future generations. I would like to be part of the solution and not part of the cause. I would encourage my fellow councillors to vote accordingly by acknowledging this policy and accept the plan. Let's find ways to limit the damage to our environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glover. Is there anyone against? I'm just where they've got two. Councillor Smith's already spoken. So, anyone against the motion? Okay, there's no one against who hasn't already spoken. Councillor Jones.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry, Councillor.
I'm
Mills,
not,
sorry,
yeah.
I didn't see you there.
I just want to speak for the motion. But I have some concerns.
Okay.
My concerns relate to the future. While I don't have a problem supporting the recommendation as it is, my concern is where we will go in the future if we're required to support further expense and so on. And I have a concern about adding expense to future councils to do things that might be asked for by this. I don't have a problem with the climate issue. I don't know enough about it. And I suppose just recently I joined a group called Climate Skeptics because I want to hear as much as I can about the issues relating to climate. I don't have any issues with Councillor Atherton's view because it gives me information for me to come to a decision on. I don't have any issues with the people. There's only been one meeting I went to with this climate skeptic group. I have trouble saying that. But just listening to what they provide is interesting information, to say the least. So I just see things that the way I like to do things is I get everyone's viewpoint and then whatever I'm comfortable with. I don't have a problem with this at this stage and I'll support this, but I don't want to see us commit this community to added expense to satisfy our neighbours. We have to make decisions based on best for our community. So I guess it's just a warning, I suppose, is that anything that may come out of this in the future we need to be very careful of. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mills. Is there any other remarks? It's really Mr. Councillor Goobler. You're fine. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Mills, for that as well. I haven't got a position on climate change. I'm actually going to speak for the motion purely because we are not endorsing the climate change policy or the action plan. We're simply receiving it. Now, the actions that we're looking at are ones that we can do within the resourcing that we have. Now, I look at it as like the pandemic. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. I look at it as an opportunity to get state and federal funding to do things that helps with cost saving, with operational cost saving, like even if it's like bulk street lighting to save ongoing electricity costs, or energy efficient buildings and things like that, or whether it's to do with fast tracking solutions for sub-regional waste. It's a way of trying to be collaborative with other councils to try and actually solve some of the issues, as in what are we doing with our waste, bushfire mitigation and floods, and looking at leadership and advocacy roles on how we can actually make our community safe. So I sort of look at it as what opportunities can we get in this space, because obviously climate change is the topic of the month and state and federal government are coming on board with this topic. So, yeah, that's how I look at it. I view of trying to see what we can get out of this in this space. So I encourage all councillors to actually vote for this motion. So I will actually refer you over to Councillor Jones. You wish to close the debate?
Yes, Madam President. As the motion is stated quite clearly there, this council, along with the Warren Blackwood Alliance, are very small players in the environment, but they're a part of it. The environment stretches not only countrywide but worldwide, and that's why I support this project. And if we can get, as you said, some of these carbon footprint reductions through our council, I'm a full supporter of it. So therefore I commend the report to you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. I'm going to put it to the vote. All those in favour of this motion, please raise your hands. Against? Thank you. So it's, yes, record. Yes, it will be. So, yep, 6-1. Okay, we're going to move on to our next item. Which is 9.2.2, which is the July monthly financial report. We have a motion there that the monthly financial report for the period ended July 2022 be received. Can someone move this motion? Councillor Atherton, seconded. Councillor Glover. Councillor Atherton, do you wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Glover, did you wish to speak to the motion?
Movement happening in our financial team. There's been a lot of movement. I mean, there's been a lot of work going on in there as well with the budget, the audit, things like that too. So I certainly understand that. But my concern is that the financial, we're talking about the July financial report, but it's that I received it something like 12 o'clock today. And so I did have some a couple of questions that were around that as well, which I would also like to ask. Obviously, we do need to accept these reports because they are a matter of compliance, but I'd just like to ask a couple of questions along the way too.
Thank you. You may ask your question if you like.
Microphone on now. The report that I received via email, it was titled a working report. Is it a final report, or is there still elements that needed to happen in regard to that?
Thank you for your question. I'll refer that to the Director of Corporate and Community.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Councillor Glover, for the question. No, the actual attachment, individual attachment, that was circulated direct to councillors today was indeed the final report and is what is now included in the attachments to the agenda.
Thank you for that. It just came through and it kept on coming up as a working report, and it kind of made me query a little bit more around that too. If I may, I'd like to ask another question, please, Madam President.
Yes.
My question is that, you know, it's the first report for this financial year, and I noticed that there are a lot of zeros in the actual column. And I'm just wondering about the variance in that. Is it just to do with the fact that it's the first report, but when you look in the actual column, there were a lot of zeros and then the actual amount was different? So I was just wondering about that variance and all the zeros.
Yeah. Would you like to, yes, answer that? Yes.
Through you, Madam President. Thank you for the question, Councillor Glover. Yes, look, first month of any financial year, there's going to be a lot of expenditure that's not expended. That's not abnormal at all. It is a case of timing and nothing else. We've got, for example, some quite significant insurance invoices that we've yet to process. They'll come through in the next month and will impact on the accounts as well. But yes, very early in terms of reporting, end of July, you know, and just if I may indulge, I agree with your comments previously in respect to the amount of work that's been taken over the last 2 to 3 months. We had a full series of asset management plans, long-term financial plan, the council plan, the budget indeed, which was a really great process, I believe. And we've sent off our annual financial statements for the prior financial year to our auditors. So we've complied with that deadline as well. So all in all, it's been a big effort, a huge effort. I'd like to apologise for the report being so late. Certainly it is, as an officer of council, it's my intention to always try to provide councillors and, for that matter, the community with information that's time relevant. It's very hard to change anything, or if you will, redirect the steering on the vehicle when it's, you know, sort of so far behind. Into the future, we'll have those reports up every single month.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I'd like to thank you and your team as well for putting these financials out. I understand there has been a lot of work that you've achieved in the last 3 months, and prior to that, we of course had our monthly financials that were timing. We're on time, so it's sort of like the last 3 months has been obviously probably fairly chaotic, I should imagine, trying to get all the statutory requirements and trying to lodge them on things on time and that sort of thing. So, okay, yeah, thank you very much. Are there any other questions in regards to the... Oh, yes, Councillor Mills.
Just a question, I suppose, to the Manager of Finance. Since you've been here, you've implemented some streamlining and a few better ways of getting out the information that in the past used to take us a lot longer. So I would imagine that's adding on to your response, I suppose, that the details will get much quicker once you get, what do they call it, rubber on the road with your procedures.
If I may, through the chair, yes, Councillor Mills, that is the case. It's certainly the automation of the systems, even the budget document templates that we now use. This year was massive because it was basically a build of those templates from scratch. Next year, the template's already there. So even the budget process next year will be a more streamlined, quicker process than it was this year. In saying that, I think this year's process was quite a smooth process.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from councillors? Councillor Glover?
Yeah, I do have a question. I received a copy of this project plan for the financial management systems improvements, which was dated March 2020, and it was a review of the financial management systems and steps which were listed, I guess, to improve accessibility, accuracy, relevancy, consistency and timeliness. The review was set out to access or address the issues that were contributing towards underperformance in this area, and a budget was set.
Is this relevant to...
Yep. Our budget was set for 17,000, and there were timeframes, milestones that were created. I'm getting to that, yeah. Okay. So this is my last line, and this is the question. So were these milestones achieved at the time, and what were the benefits of that, considering the system was still quite cumbersome as well? So I can only imagine from that the system was very, very old back in 2020 when this report here was produced. So my question was, were the milestones in this report achieved?
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Madam. I failed to see the relevance of that to actually looking at the July's financial position. I'm more than happy to deal with that, and we can deal with it in a concept forum and provide some more information to you. But you're asking a question with regards to internal procedures and processes in relation to IT on an item that's asking council to consider a financial report. I don't see the nexus between the two items.
My idea was that it was just, there was so much work and we had planned to actually sort of try to streamline that as well. So that's why my question was there about whether we had streamlined it to the point that we were making it easier. And, you know, so I guess the part of the answer is that there's still more work to do.
Thank you for your question. Yes, we'll move on. As I said, yeah, I couldn't see the relevance as well, because what we're basically doing is receiving the monthly report.
We're receiving a monthly report 4 hours before a meeting is scheduled. That's why I was sort of bringing this into there, because we were trying to streamline it a little bit quicker.
Yep.
Anyway.
Okay, well, maybe just go through councillor requests and ask that question. Thank you. Now, is there anyone against this motion? No? I'll put it back to Councillor Atherton, was the mover of the motion. Did you wish to? No? Okay, I'm going to put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? No? Carried unanimously. Moving on to 9.2.3, which is the monthly financial report for August. Now, the executive recommendation is that the monthly financial report for the period ended August 2022 will be presented to the October Ordinary Council meeting for compliance purposes. So this will go to next month. Do I have a mover of this motion? Councillor Smith, seconded Councillor Atherton. Councillor Smith, did you wish to speak? Councillor Atherton, did you wish to speak? Are there any questions on this? Councillor Glover?
Yes, I was just wondering if it would be possible to have this report sent through, because my understanding will be that in October we will have the August financials as well as the September financials, so which is a lot to review. What I was wanting to ask was, is it possible to have the August one presented to us earlier, so that we've actually got time to review such a complex, you know, the 2 months at that time for that meeting?
Yes, thank you for your question. I'll pass it on to Mr. Mr. Dolsdelli, can you?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Councillor Glover, for your question. Without question, yes. I would expect that, you know, within the next 2 weeks maximum, we would be able to distribute the 31st of August report for you, or to all councillors. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. Are there any other questions before? Is there anyone against this motion? I'll put it back to Councillor Smith. Do you wish to close the debate? All those in favour? Declare carried unanimously. Moving on to our next item, which is 9.2.4. Annual concessions on the split local government boundaries. Councillor Smith has a financial conflict of interest, so he is removing himself from the room. Okay, moving along to this item. Moved Councillor Mills, seconded Councillor Jones. Councillor Mills, did you wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Jones, did you wish to speak? Is there anyone against this motion? I'm going to declare it carried. So what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-0. Carried. I think he stays out. I think he's got...
Oh, he does, yes.
He does.
Apologies.
We're moving on to 9.2.5, which is in regards to the Minister for Local Government approval of joint district boundary change. Councillor Smith has got a financial interest in this item as well, so he is vacant. Councillor Mills has moved the motion. Councillor Jones has seconded. Councillor Mills, did you wish to comment on this motion? Councillor Jones? Is there anyone against this motion? No, I'm going to declare that carried as well, 6-0. Just waiting for Councillor Smith to return to the room. Councillor Atherton is leaving the room because he has a financial interest in this item. This item is to do with the offer to purchase Shire property, lots 3 and 4, Bridge Street, Donnybrook. Can I have a mover of this motion, please? Mover of this motion, Councillor Smith. Councillor Jones has seconded. Councillor Smith, did you wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Jones, did you wish to speak as the seconder? Okay. I have an amendment. I have an amendment to this item. I did send through to you earlier, yesterday I think it was. I'll just give you some time to actually read. Basically, I'll just explain. The first 4 points remain the same, but I've added point 5, 6, 7 and 8. Now, I've moved the amendment. Do I have a seconded for my amendment? Councillor Smith? Okay, I'm going to speak to my motion. Now, the reason why I've put this amendment in, I felt we're dealing with Water Corp, which is a state government entity. Generally, what happens if someone purchases a block of land, when they go to develop, they then, in the development application process, they ask, the Shire then asks for submissions from all the local residents, any stakeholders around, and they get feedback in for the development application. Now, in this instance, because state government entities have exemption to firstly the purchase and advertising, but secondly, because it's public works they're looking at, there is not that opportunity for residents to oppose public works. So I've actually included this amendment in here to try and reduce the impacts of neighbouring people. So I just, yeah, basically that's what I felt that we needed to put this in so people don't get lose that opportunity to have their say. Councillor Smith, you're seconded. Did you wish to speak? This is for the amendment. The amendment.
I'd just like to get the officer's opinion if there's any repercussions on that, or I don't think it changes anything. It's just a nice idea, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councillor Smith. I assisted Madam President in drafting these. I reviewed them. I didn't prepare them, but proposed item number 5 is a courtesy. Item number 2 is really just an acknowledgement that future urban development requires this infrastructure. Item number 3 acknowledges Water Corp have considered a variety of locations through that part of Donnybrook and identified this as the most effective parcel of land. None of those impact the actual first 4 decisions. And item number 8 is an instruction to me to make a request to Water Corp to consider reducing the visual noise and other impacts, whether that's through screening, through particular siting arrangements, through use of different infrastructure, different engineering techniques. Water Corp don't necessarily need to take the Shire's advice or heed the Shire's request, but if we don't make the request, they're not likely to even look at it. So we're happy to go into bat for our local residents on this matter.
Yep, so you're right there? Yep. Okay, is anyone against this? Now we're dealing with the amendment on its own, so the amendment, is anyone against this amendment to this motion? No? Okay, I'm going to declare it carried. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-0. And that becomes the substantive motion. So we're now dealing with the substantive motion. Is there anyone against the substantive motion that we have in front of us? Councillor Mills? Just moving the microphone? Okay. If no one's against it, I'm going to declare that carried as well. 6-0. Thank you. Just waiting until Councillor Atherton returns into the room. Thank you, Councillor Atherton. You're joining us for the last item, which is item 13. Basically, that concludes our September Ordinary Council meeting. And just to let people know that our next council meeting will be on the 26th of October, and that will be here at the council chamber. So thank you very much for all coming along today, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Say goodbye to those viewing at home.
And thank you to all our live streamers that we have today. So thank you. See you later.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to say there's
Yes.
22 views. Which one of them was us, and I think about 10 of them were staff.
Oh.
I've been receiving text messages all night saying, tell so-and-so to turn their microphone on.
Oh. Okay, thank you.